Let's go over the future indicative forms for the irregular verb eimi. Remember that you've already learned the present tense form. So if I were to draw a line down here, and I were to talk about the present tense forms of the verb eimi, which means I am. So this is the paradigm for the verb that means I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you all are, and they are. If I were to write out the Greek forms, it would be eimi, and make sure you have that circumflex, because at least for this form of the verb, without the circumflex, it means if, but with the circumflex, it means you are. This is I am, you are. St or stin is he, she, it is. Esmen is we are. Este is you all are. And ac or sin is they are. So you learned these forms already. These were tackled in chapter 15 and 16. Now we're learning the future forms of the verb eimi for the first person singular, second person singular, third person singular, first person plural, second person plural, and third person plural forms. So this would be I will be, you will be, he, she, it will be, etc. So to form the future of eimi, I will be is esomai. Singular, you singular will be is esse. Estai is he, she, it will be. Notice that the connecting vowel drops for this form. Esamatha is you will be. Sesthe is you all will be. And esantai is they will be. And these are the future forms of the verb eimi. And that concludes the grammar lesson. So a friendly reminder that you have a modified homework assignment. And in that modified homework assignment, any remaining vocabulary of chapter 17, which is mostly the contract verbs, are verbs that you have to learn in addition to the vocabulary in chapter 19. And please do the workbook chapter 19 for your homework. As part of your vocabulary, you're also introduced to a new class of third declension nouns. And this is part of the semi-vowel family, but instead of the consonantal iota, remember that you have a consonantal iota, and that this consonantal iota, like in the word polis, which means city, the rule was that it could turn into either an iota or an epsilon, depending on what noun case ending is attached to it. Well, this class is, this semi-vowel is what we call a digamma. So it kind of looks like a funny F. But this is a digamma. And the digamma, like the consonantal iota, can turn into either an upsilon or nothing, or simply drops. So we'll just kind of symbolize it like this. The digamma will either drop or turn into an upsilon, depending on whether the case ending ends with a consonant, in which case the digamma turns into an upsilon. And if it ends, but if the case ending begins with a vowel, then that's when the digamma simply drops out. So I took the liberty of writing out all the forms. This is the word basileus, which means king. And do not confuse that with basileia. Basileia, which is a first declension feminine noun, this means kingdom. But basileus means king. And since you're adding a sigma to it, the rule is the digamma. So if the stem is basileg with a digamma here, this digamma turns into an upsilon when you add a case ending that begins with a consonant. But for os, that begins with a vowel. So you notice that the digamma drops. And what happens is when the digamma drops, the omicron wants to go long to compensate for the change or the drop of the digamma in the stem. So basileos, os with omega, is a form for the genitive singular. And if you add, if the digamma drops and you add the dative to the stem, then this is basile. At alpha, it's basilea. For this form, S, when if the digamma drops, basile, and you see the digamma dropping, and you add S to it, when you combine two short vowels, epsilon, epsilon together, it does form the vowel combination of diphthong basileis. So this is the plural form. So kings, basileon, same deal here. The vowel means that the digamma drops, add on to it. This is the genitive plural form. Basilusi, or sin, is a dative plural form, all following the rules. And basileis happens when the digamma drops and the stem, after the digamma drops, combines with the case ending. These two form the diphthong A, and so you have basileis here as a plural for the accusative as well. And those are the forms for this third declension noun. And this concludes our module.